listening to the Full Circle Weekly News. These articles are compiled by Eric the Unready. I'm your host, Moss Bliss. This is episode 387, covering week 40, September 30th to August 6th, 2024. The qBittorrent 5.0 torrent client has been released. It uses the Qt toolkit and is an open alternative to muTorrent. qBittorrent features include an integrated search engine, RSS subscription, support for many BEP extensions, remote control via a web interface, a sequential download mode in a specified order, advanced settings for torrents, peers, and trackers, a bandwidth planner and IP filter, an interface for creating torrents, and support for UPnP and NatPMP. The project code is written in C++ and is distributed under the GPLv2 Plus license. Builds are generated for Linux, Windows, and Mac OS. FFmpeg 7.1 is available, including a set of applications and a collection of libraries for operating on various multimedia formats, recording, converting, and decoding audio and video formats. The package is written in C and distributed under the LGPL and GPL licenses. Phosh 0.42 has been released, a mobile desktop shell based on GNOME technologies and the GTK library. The environment was initially developed by Purism as an analog of GNOME shell for the Librem 5 smartphone, but then became one of the unofficial GNOME projects and is used in Postmarket OS, Mobian, Droidian, some firmware for Pine 64 devices, and the Fedora edition for smartphones. Phosh uses the Phoc composite server running on top of Wayland, as well as its own on-screen keyboard, Squeakboard. The project's code is distributed under the GPLv3 Plus license. Apple has released the source code for the low-level system components of macOS 15 Sequoia operating system, which uses free software including parts of Darwin and other non-GUI components, programs, and libraries. A total of 171 source packages have been released. The cron tabs package has been removed from the macOS 14.x branch. Among other things, the XNU kernel code is available, publishes code snippets associated with the next release of macOS. XNU is part of the open-source Darwin project and is a hybrid kernel combining the Mach kernel, components from the FreeBSD project, and the IOKit C++ API for writing drivers. In addition, open components used in the iOS 18.0 mobile platform have been published. The publication includes two packages, WebKit and libiconv. Oracle has released the R7U3 update for Unbreakable Enterprise R7 kernel, which is being developed for use in Oracle Linux as an alternative to the standard kernel package from Red Hat. The kernel is available for the x86-64 and ARM64 AArch64 architectures. The kernel source code, including a breakdown into individual patches, is published in Oracle's public Git repository. R7 is based on the Linux kernel 5.15, supplemented with optimizations, fixes, and new features, such as dtrace integration and improved Btrfs support. The kernel is tested for compatibility with most applications running on RHEL and is specifically optimized for work with Oracle industrial software and hardware. Installation and source packages with UEK R7U3 are prepared for the Oracle Linux 8.x and 9.x. Nitrux 3.7.0 has been released, built on Debian, KDE Technologies, and the OpenRC initialization system. The project offers its own NX Desktop, which is an add-on to KDE Plasma. Based on the MAUI library, a set of typical user applications are being developed, which can be used both on desktop systems and on mobile devices. App Images is promoted for additional applications. The project's developments are distributed under free licenses. Manjaro Linux 24.1, based on Arch Linux and aimed at beginners, is out. The distribution is notable for its simplified and user-friendly installation process, support for automatic hardware detection, and installation of the drivers required for its operation. Manjaro is supplied as live builds with the KDE, GNOME, and XFCE graphical environments, created for the x86-64 architecture and various boards based on ARM processors. With the participation of the community, builds with Budgie, Cinnamon, Deepin, LXQT, and i3 are additionally being developed. Manjaro uses its own Boxit toolkit to manage repositories, which is based on Git. The repository is maintained on a rolling update basis, but new versions undergo an additional stabilization stage. There is also support for using the AUR. The distribution comes with a graphical installer and a graphical interface for configuring the system. The first official version of the OpenWRT-1 AP-24.XY wireless router for sale to the public, developed jointly by the OpenWRT and Banana Pi projects, has been announced. The OpenWRT community designed the device and prepared the software, while the Banana Pi community took on the work of manufacturing and distributing it through its sales network. The router is available for order via AliExpress Global for €99. A certain percentage of each unit sold is donated to the OpenWRT community. To reduce the cost of the project, the OpenWRT-1 is based on the same hardware as the Banana Pi R4 boards, which are equipped with open firmware except for the wireless chip, are supplied with U-Boot, and are supported in the Linux kernel. The device uses the MediaTek MT7981B SoC with a dual-core Cortex A53 1.3 GHz CPU and a MediaTek MT7976C wireless chip. The router is equipped with 1 GB of DDR4 RAM, 256 MB of SPI NAND flash, and 16 MB of SPI NOR flash. The device comes with 2 Ethernet ports, 2.5 GBE and 1 GBE, USB 2.0 host Type A, USB-C, JTAG 10-pin, and a microbus expansion slot. To connect additional drives, there's an M.2 slot for NVMe SSD, PCIe Gen 2X1. There is support for PoE 802.3 AT/AF. Schematics and PCB pinouts are available for download. The first version of the device that went on sale is intended for testing by developers and enthusiasts, but is not yet ready for end users. To increase reliability, OpenWRT-1 uses 2 different types of flash drives at the same time: NAND for the U-Boot bootloader and Linux image, and write-protected NOR flash with an additional bootloader and recovery image. A special hardware switch is provided to select booting from NOR or NAND. The default firmware is OpenWRT based, but if desired, you can use the M.2 slot for NVMe and boot other Linux distributions from NVMe. The NVMe slot can also be used for network storage. Ardour 8.8 has been published. Designed for multi-channel recording, processing, and mixing of sound, Ardour provides a multi-track timescale, unlimited level of rollback of changes during the entire life, working with a file even after closing the program, and support for various hardware interfaces. The program is positioned as a free analog of Pro Tools, Nuendo, Pyramix, and Sequoia. The code is distributed in the GPL v2 license. Unofficial Flatpaks for Linux will be released soon. Samsung announced at the Samsung Developer Conference 2024 that it is porting its open-source Tizen mobile platform to devices with RISC-V-based processors. Samsung is exploring the use of RISC-V in its smart TVs and other consumer devices, and is also collaborating with SiFive to prototype TVs with RISC-V cores in the SiFive Performance series. One such prototype was demonstrated at the exhibition. Tizen code is licensed under GPL v2, Apache 2.0, and BSD, and is developed under the auspices of the Linux Foundation, mainly by Samsung. The platform continues to develop the MeeGo and Limo projects and is distinguished by the ability to use Web API and web technologies to create mobile applications. The graphical environment is built on the Wayland protocol and snippets of the Enlightenment project. Systemd is used to manage services. An update of the specialized Dog Linux distribution build, Debian Live CD in the style of Puppy Linux, has been published. It is based on Debian 12 Bookworm and is intended for testing and servicing PCs and laptops. The distribution includes applications such as GPU Test, Unigen Heaven, CD-X, GSmart Control, gparted, PartImage, PartClone, TestDisk, DDRescue, WHDD, and DMDE. The distribution allows you to check the performance of the equipment, load test the processor and video card, check Smart HDD and NVMe SSD. The QMMP 1.7.0 and 2.2 music players have been released. QMMP 2.2 continues the development of the branch that switched to Qt6, while version 1.7 uses Qt 5.15. The players include 2 interfaces, a simple one using standard elements and a classic one that copies the XMMS/Winamp/Audacious interface. OSS4, ALSA, Pulse Audio, Jack, Qt Multimedia, IceCast, Waveout, Direct Sound, and WAS API can be used to output sound. The code is written in C++ and is distributed under the GPL v2 license. Ready-made packages have been created for Ubuntu. Collections of plugins that are not part of the main package, QMMP Plugin Pack 1.7.0 and 2.2.0, have also been created. Richard Hughes has released FWUPD 2.0.0, providing a background process for firmware updates and the FWUPD Manager utility for managing firmware, checking for new versions, and downloading firmware. The project's code is written in C and is licensed under the LGPL v2.1 license. The project provides OEMs and firmware developers with a service for uploading firmware to a special centralized Linux vendor firmware service catalog, which can be used in Linux distributions using the FWUPD toolkit. Currently, the catalog offers firmware for more than 1,600 devices from 160 manufacturers. Using a centralized catalog eliminates the need for manufacturers to create packages for distributions and allows firmware to be transferred in a .cab archive with additional metadata. FWUPD supports automatic firmware update mode without the need for any user action, and the operation execution after user confirmation or request. FWUPD and LVFS are used in RHEL, Fedora, Ubuntu, SUSE, Debian, and many other distributions for automated firmware updates, and are also supported in the GNOME software and KDE Discover application managers. FWUPD is also suitable for updating firmware on smartphones, tablets, servers, and IoT devices. MIT-M-Proxy 11 project is out. It develops a toolkit for intercepting traffic inside connections established via HTTPS with the ability to inspect, modify, and replay traffic. The main purpose of MIT-M-Proxy is to monitor traffic in corporate systems and diagnose problems, for example, identifying hidden network activity of applications. The source code of the project is written in Python and is distributed under the MIT license. To analyze HTTPS traffic, MIT-M-Proxy is placed on a transit mode where it intercepts client requests and translates them into requests sent from itself to the target server. MIT-M-Proxy establishes a regular HTTPS connection with the server requested during the client session, and a dummy connection is established with the client on behalf of the target server with a fake SSL certificate generated for the client on the fly. The traffic received from the client is redirected to the target server, and the received responses are translated back to the client. Several methods are supported for redirecting traffic through MIT-M-Proxy, such as specifying the MIT-M-Proxy address as an HTTP proxy in the browser settings, working as a SOCKS 5 proxy, using it as a reverse proxy in front of the HTTP server, and organizing transparent forwarding using packet filter rules or routing wrapping. In order to prevent the fake certificate used when connecting to the client from causing the browser to display warnings about connection security issues, the user is offered a choice to install the MIT-M-Proxy root certificate in the system, which can be done either manually or by opening a special mitim.it host in the browser. Cage 0.2 Composite Server is now available. It uses Wayland and is designed to run standalone applications in kiosk mode. Cage is used in home automation systems, demonstration stands, electronic signs, and self-service terminals. The project code is written in C and is licensed under the MIT license. The interface in Cage is limited to one application, and the user cannot go beyond this application and access the operating system. The screen is tied to one output device, and all auxiliary dialogues are displayed in the center of the screen without the ability to move or change the size. Inserting and retrieving data through the clipboard is supported. Applications are directly linked to the launched graphical environment. To create a kiosk with the Epiphany browser, it is enough to run cage /usr/bind/epiphany, and after exiting the program, the composite server also terminates. You've been listening to Full Circle Weekly News. For more details, see the next issue of the magazine at fullcirclemagazine.org or check the links in the show notes. You can contact me at bardmoss@pm.me. I'll see you next week.